Vast numbers of people from all classes are leaving California for a multitude of reasons which we will cover today. Businesses are concerned about taxation. They're concerned about their bottom line. But what the government does in response to the actions and the begging and pleading of people is to always raise taxes, either outright or by stealth. Which do you prefer? You came here for the truth, so let me unveil that for you. Today we are going to look at the exodus of California. I recently did a video about this topic and I found so much more information I needed to do another one. So stay with me, jam-packed episode. I want to first begin with this because it's going to set the tone for the remainder of this video. I'm going to talk about taxation. I'm going to talk about incomes. I'm going to talk about assets. I'm going to talk about everything here. So let's get into this right away. What $500,000 buys you around California? Now you're looking at this here and you see this woman who is in front of this burnt down house and you think to yourself, $500,000 for a burnt down house? That's insane. Well, actually it's much worse than that. She paid over $900,000 for this burnt down house. And it tells us that it's not the home itself that may be worth anything, it's the land it's sitting on, right? That's what you need to think about. Everything has a value, and that's perceived by those who will buy it. If the home is sitting there, it doesn't really matter what it's worth, but it's what someone will pay for that home or for that particular asset. We have markets, we have futures markets, we have all of these different ways of pricing things, but ultimately at that moment when you're willing to sell, what will somebody pay? That's important. I also want you to think about what the people in that given area have for incomes. What about the job scenario in there? Are industries moving in and out? What are the kind of people that live in the area? Will there be any mass transit, public transit coming in? Will there be highways moving through? Will there be major changes in the area? I want to know about the businesses that are moving in there, moving out, of course, as I said. I want to know about the changes occurring, okay? You can see all of this information. I talked about it in my first book, actually. You need to look at things like permits. You need to see those, and you could see the permits for your area that are going up, the buildings that are going to be created, and so on, okay? I'll leave that with you to think about as I cover the rest of this information. We're talking about taxation here in this next article, talking about the rising taxes that they're going to be putting on. Among high-income brackets, about 38% of Californians who earn more than $877,000, that's the top 1%, would see a tax hike. About 25% of the Californians earning between $130,000 and $300,000 would also see a tax increase. What I want to address here is that when governments are out there to appease the people, the middle class, the lower class, they always have this idea that we should increase taxation. Increasing taxes has never in history solved any problems. As far as I'm aware, every time they have created a new tax or increased taxes, I always find that I'm still paying the same amount of money everywhere I go, even if that increase in taxation somehow doesn't directly affect me. Everything that I pay for is still the same price or more the next year. I'm seeing the same burdens all of the time. Nothing ever gets better. You're increasing taxes, supposedly fixing the problem, but it just goes into a black hole. All we're doing is feeding the beast over and over again. Taxes, they're never going to fix anything. All this does is expand government. When we pay taxes, or the so-called rich, that 1%, they're paying taxes, it just goes to feed the beast. It doesn't make them any more poor. All we're going to do by increasing taxes, if we can somehow say, government do something, all they do is take their corporations and move them out of that state. That's what's going to occur right now. And I'll show you examples of that. They're going to move from California, if not themselves, they'll move their businesses out to states that have no taxes, less taxes, whatever. They'll move it out to Puerto Rico. They'll move it out to Panama. They'll move it to Luxembourg. They'll move it to Cayman Islands. They don't care. That's what people don't realize. Don't tax them too much. They're going to leave. If you want their tax money, be slow and steady with it. Don't try to increase the way that people do and they jump. The taxes move up 5 or 10%. That's it. They're gone. All that money you thought you were going to get by taxing them, it's gone. California, not Mississippi, New Mexico, or West Virginia has the highest poverty rate in the United States. Many people don't know that, but it is true. All right, we're looking at the housing, food, utilities, and clothing, which includes non-cash government assistance as a form of income. Nearly 1 out of 4 Californians is poor. Truly a shocking statistic. Nearly 1 out of 4. Look at 4 people, 1 of them is poor. Truly something to think about. It goes into more details, but I just wanted to show you the fact that you have people in Beverly Hills who have so much wealth. Okay? It's just pouring out of them. It's raining money. And then you have 1 in 4 people who are literally poor. Other people who can't make ends meet. So there's a huge disparity in California. I find it very interesting. Very, very rich, affluent areas and other areas where, it's quite the opposite. Roughly 5 million people left California in the last decade. See where they went. Well, this article basically tells you that they went to one place, being Texas. About 600,000 California residents left for Texas, which drew more Californians than any other state. 350,000 people came from Texas to California. So, of course, people are moving into California. Don't get me wrong. But a lot of them are moving out. There are different reasons for that, and I think you know where I'm going with this. 800,000 people are about to flee New York and California because of taxes. This is the new tax bill going in. People are saying, I'm moving out. I'm not paying that. I literally can't afford it. Think about situations with property taxes, for example. If you're a very wealthy person and you have a very big home, you may be paying 5 or let me think about this now. Based on what I have heard, you may pay $50,000 or even $100,000 a year in property taxes alone if you have a very large property. They don't want to pay that. They can just move out of state into a different area, or maybe they move out of the country. Maybe they move to Puerto Rico. Maybe they move to somewhere like Cayman Islands. They could put their money there. They have a lot of it, and they don't pay taxes. They don't have to pay these taxes anymore. They can open up their business offshore. A lot of people are doing it, and a lot of people are benefiting from it. The average individual working a 9 to 5, they don't have these advantages. But of course, those people in the class, the top of the top, they are going to be taxed at such a high rate, they're leaving. They're going to leave. And many people would say, good riddance. But what does that mean? That means that so-called upper class gets brought down. And everybody slowly but surely is being put into the bottom class, okay? Everybody is going to be there. That's the goal. Have a few elite at the top and everybody else. No middle class. Look at any developing nation, there is no middle class. According to Zillow, the average price for a home in the US was $261,000 in February 2018. The average home price in California was $469,000. In Oklahoma, it's $116,000. Over the past few decades, more people have been leaving California for other states than have been coming here. Home prices are just one asset in California that has really been driven higher over these years. We've seen the prices just climbing and climbing and climbing, pushing people simply out of the market. They're going from the major cities, they're going out into further and further suburbs, but those prices have been rising. They're moving out. They're going to Arizona, they're going to Texas, they're going all over the place. Quite frankly, they can't afford it. And the businesses is twofold. Businesses are moving out because they're getting taxed out of it. And yes, they, in a way, can afford it, but they're saying, I'm moving my business out, even if it happens to be operating somewhat in California, they can move some of their operations to a different state. They can have the corporate tax entity in Delaware or other places and benefit from that. And of course, that state is going to lose out because of that. You're just pushing them out. What do you think is going to happen if manufacturing is taxed so heavily, if there's so many regulations? What happens? Well, you just move it to China. That's what we're talking about here. Increased taxation doesn't solve any problems, and I've been ranting on about this a little too much now. A company that manufactures workbenches and lab furniture is relocating to Goodyear near Phoenix, Arizona to save money while creating 30 new jobs in Arizona. Not 30 new jobs in California, 30 new jobs in Arizona. They're moving. Next. This California employer is relocating to Idaho. Many of his employees are coming with him. That's interesting. So the people are actually going there because they want a job. They want a job. Okay? Another example. Californians fed up with housing costs and taxes are fleeing the state in big numbers. More Californians are moving from the Golden State, particularly lower income residents, although even middle class residents are saying goodbye. It's a symptom of the state's housing crunch and, for some, high taxes. Okay, issues that I've talked about. This is out of CNBC. I'm going to move on. This is interesting. If you've ever seen this home before, it's quite famous now. It's, as far as I'm aware, one of the most expensive homes in Beverly Hills, if I'm not mistaken, but this here is on the top of a mountain. They have really upset all the neighbors, and if it's the one that I'm thinking of, it's actually above Jennifer Aniston's home, and even people with mega mansions are upset that there's a giga mansion on top of their home, on top of the mountain, that is just, quite frankly, ridiculous in size. It's like 100,000 square feet. This is what we have. We have people at the very, very top, literally, that are making so much money, that are able to afford anything, that have a whole showroom of cars. They have a yacht. They have butlers and maids and everything else. And then we have the issue that they remind us of here. In the second Gilded Age, the mansions are getting bigger and the homeless get closer. Look at this. We can see that 62% of state roads in California have been rated poor or mediocre. We've seen the taxation that has been burdening people, and yet still 62% of the roads are not good. In where I live in Toronto, we see cold temperatures in the wintertime, we see hot temperatures in the summertime, and the roads are just destroyed. By the time the springtime comes around, the roads are just potholes everywhere. It's terrible. I can only imagine what it'd be like in California, where the weather stays relatively similar all year round compared to other areas. Even, for example, Toronto's weather is the same climate as like New York and Chicago. So we see those high and low temps, and that just destroys the roads. We have no way to fix them in the wintertime. As far as I'm concerned, I don't see anybody fixing it. Maybe there's no money left by the end of the year. Who knows? This is what I see. I see the destruction. But where's our taxes going? Where are the taxes going? We're paying so much money, and we're just don't see any of the rewards from it. We see more children today, they're going through school, they get pushed through school. Why haven't they learned a single damn thing? Why have they come out of school not knowing anything? Maybe they pushed them through. I don't know. It doesn't matter. I'm seeing tax money taken out of my paycheck going to some kids that haven't learned anything. If they're going to learn something, at least we could justify it, but they're not. And last but not least, I saved the best for last. So if you're still here, you get to see this amazing chart. This is out of Atom, ATTOM. You can put that in a search engine. It's quite interesting. If you put your mouse over this, you can see area by area the migration that's taken place, where homeowners are moving in Q2 2018. So I'll just put my mouse over San Francisco. Domestic migration, you're looking at that, minus 2,600. 2017's net migration is 5,000. You could see all of the median sales price on their homes. You could see single family homes and condos, quarterly change in pre-mover index. It's got all sorts of different factors to look at. Anyway, I'm not going to bore you with all that, but I think you should check it out for yourself. So that is ATTOM, where homeowners are moving in Q2 2018. I will have the link in the description under the sources if you're interested in checking it out. It's important to know where people are going, where people are coming from, why is that the case, and how that will affect me. Maybe I live halfway across the world, but I can learn from what's happening here. What about business, how that all is affected? I think it's important. Not something I cover on this channel, but if you stay tuned, in the near future, I promise you I'm going to have a new channel all about business, all about mindset, all about entrepreneurship and success, and actual tips on what to do and how many people, including myself, have been able to be successful in the things that they do. That's all for this video. If you found it informative, please give me a thumbs up. When you give me a thumbs up, it helps to support this channel. I do appreciate that very much. And if you want the information that you were never taught in school, the financial education, well, these two books have it all. You can go from zero to hero, and all you got to do is read these two books. I assure you that these books will get you from literally nowhere to having more knowledge than the average person you go to the bank and take advice from. That's a promise. These books will tell you what you need to know. You can then ask those people the questions. You could do your own research. You can be able to have the ability to decide for yourself. Do you want to do this? Do you not want to? And then you won't be a victim anymore. So definitely check those out. Links are in the description below. Take care.